This is the story of Charles Zwolsman, a man who traded his sports glory for a life of crime and drugs. He began as a successful flower retailer, transitioned into a sports car racer, and eventually became a drug lord, leading to multiple court cases and prison sentences. At a racing event, he encountered a man whose influence drastically altered his path. But how did this meeting steer him towards the criminal world? This story highlights the rise and fall of a sportsman who made disastrous choices, ultimately leading to his downfall. Charles Zwolsman was born on August 6, 1955, in Zwolsman, Netherlands. His father worked at the Dutch Dock and Shipbuilding Company and was a cousin of the renowned project developer Zwolsman. As a child, Charles was very sensitive and had poor health, which affected his school life. Instead of attending school, he preferred playing with his self-made go-kart, often pestering the residents of Zwolsman. At 18, after getting a 16-year-old girl pregnant, Charles had to marry her and support his new family. To help him earn a living, his family provided him with a flower stall. Over the years, he expanded the business significantly, allowing him to sell flowers wholesale at the Aalsmeer flower auction and export them to Germany. He invested the profits into his passion for racing, seemingly making a wise investment to secure his racing career. However, things did not turn out as planned. In the mid-1970s, Zwolsman participated in his first race at the Zandvoort race circuit with average results. The expenses of racing exceeded the profits from his flower business, leading to its bankruptcy in 1985. That same year, his father died and his wife left him, ending their marriage. It was a tough year for him, and he was desperate for a change. That was when he met a man at the Zandvoort race circuit who introduced him to trading hashish, a drug made from compressing and processing parts of the cannabis plant. Zwolsman was eager for money and seized the opportunity without considering the consequences. On his first attempt, he was arrested on his way to England with 2,000 kilograms of hashish, but he did not receive a sentence. Over the years, Zwolsman became dedicated to the drug trade, achieving successful deals and significant profits. With his newfound wealth, he began living a luxurious lifestyle. He purchased a large villa in Blaricum, Netherlands, next to the mayor's residence, where he lived with his new girlfriend, Sylvia. He also bought a 45-meter-long yacht worth about 3 million guilders, named the Maxim Z, after his daughter with Sylvia, who had just been born around that time. He expanded his business and increased his profits by establishing smuggling routes in Morocco. In his basement, he had 3 counting machines to process the enormous amounts of cash from the drug trade. To create a facade of legitimacy, he invested some of the drug money into a car trading business, expanding his company to various locations and branches across the Netherlands. As a token of appreciation for their services, he gifted 2 of his business partners expensive cars. One received a Lamborghini Countach and the other a Porsche. However, his lavish lifestyle and extravagant spending soon attracted the attention of the Criminal Intelligence Service, CID. By early 1991, the CID recognized that Zwolsman was on the verge of becoming one of the biggest drug lords in the country. However, they were unable to take immediate action due to a tight schedule and other priorities. After the death of drug lord Klaas Bruinsma on June 27, 1991, who was shot and killed by an organized crime member and a former policeman, authorities intensified their focus on Zwolsman and his gang. They even assembled a special team named Formula, a nod to Zwolsman's passion for racing. Between 1989 and 1993, Zwolsman oversaw the importation of at least 9 shipments of hashish from Morocco, each weighing 4,000 kilograms, and 8 shipments from Spain, each weighing 1,000 kilograms. According to authorities, Zwolsman's organization consisted of approximately 60 members. Roy Piccini served as his head of security, while Robert Piscini managed his business operations. The transport department was led by Ray Wong Atun, and his enforcement team was controlled by individuals known as Huey, Louie, and Dewey. During that period, he pursued his passion for sports car racing, competing in the World Sports Car Championship in 1991 and securing 6th place in the driver standings. The following year, in 1992, he drove a Lola T 92/10 but did not score any points in the series. He also participated in the prestigious 24 Hours of Le Mans from 1990 to 1992, teaming up with Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Shunji Kasuya in 1992 and achieving his best result with a 13th place finish. In addition to his World Sports Car Championship endeavors, he raced in the Inter-Series in 1992, winning a race and ending the season 10th in the driver standings. After retiring from racing, he shifted his focus to drug dealing, attracting the attention of authorities for approximately a year. To avoid legal trouble, Zwolsman operated cautiously, ensuring that evidence against him was difficult to uncover, thus avoiding arrest. In June 1992, he was finally apprehended for speeding. This incident provided authorities with an opportunity to not only charge him for speeding, but also for offenses dating back to the 1980s. Zwolsman faced charges related to participation in a criminal organization and the importation of 15,000 kilograms of hashish. Despite his detention, Zwolsman remained deeply involved in his illicit activities. He continued to lead his organization, issuing directives and conducting sales. His girlfriend Sylvia aided him by smuggling notes from prison containing instructions, but he sought additional means to communicate with his team. It was later discovered that he had made numerous phone calls from De Marway prison in Leeuwarden, circumventing the facility's security measures. As Zwolsman's sentence was nearing its end, his team planned an operation to secure his freedom on September 17, 1993. However, 2 days before their planned action, authorities preempted them by conducting extensive raids across global locations associated with Zwolsman's business empire. These raids led to the arrest of 66 individuals involved in drug trafficking and violence. In addition to the arrests, authorities seized a total of 48 vehicles used in their operations, amounting to a substantial sum of 10 million guilders. Even though Zwolsman was already incarcerated in Leeuwarden prison, authorities apprehended him again and transferred him to another prison in Amsterdam. In January 1994, authorities commenced his trial. They gathered witnesses, including former employees, whose testimonies and statements provided substantial evidence supporting the charges against him. The trial concluded with a judge sentencing him to 4 years in prison. Dissatisfied with this verdict, he filed an appeal on September 8, 1994, hoping for a reduced sentence. However, after a lengthy and arduous hearing, his sentence was increased to 5 years on January 6, 1995, adding an additional year to his original term. Concerned that further appeals might lead to a harsher outcome, he chose not to pursue another appeal and served out his remaining years in prison. In late 1997, Zwolsman was released after completing his sentence. He resumed his car trading business, specializing in luxury vehicles like Porsches, selling them to affluent youth from Guijsmeren in the Netherlands. However, the profits from this venture were insufficient after years of extravagant living fueled by drug money. Eventually, he grew weary and returned to drug trafficking. He enjoyed a successful stint for 3 years, but was arrested again in 2000. This time, he chose not to appeal, having learned from previous experiences. Instead of a traditional sentence, he was ordered to pay the state 28 million guilders. In 2001, Zwolsman faced new charges for continuing his smuggling operations post-release in January 1997, including drug exports to England and firearm acquisitions. Additionally, he was accused of threatening a police officer with a loaded revolver during his 2000 arrest. Following legal proceedings, he received a sentence of 6 years in prison. In 2006, he was arrested once again and faced charges related to his involvement in a criminal organization, ownership of 3 cannabis farms in Barneveld and Lonteren, drug importation and exportation to Great Britain, possession of firearms, money laundering totaling approximately 600,000 euros, possession of 60 kilograms of amphetamine, and possession of 2,000 kilograms of hashish, amounting to a total of 7 charges. Authorities seized all assets, including 10 high-end vehicles parked on his premises. These assets, including his cars, were sold off, generating approximately 5.2 million guilders, which was put towards the repayment of his debts. By February 2007, the Public Prosecution Service decided to drop charges related to his membership in a criminal organization, drug importation and exportation to Great Britain, and laundering 600,000 euros. As a result, he faced only 4 remaining charges. In January 2008, Zwolsman was released from prison by the court, but his incarceration didn't mark the end of his criminal activities. Despite serving multiple jail sentences and time apart from his family, he continued to operate his drug business, maintaining leadership of his organization as if unaffected by his legal troubles. This persistence led to his arrest again on June 11, 2009, at a parking lot near the A1 highway close to Barneveld. He was not alone. Authorities also apprehended 10 other suspects in Huizen and Purmerend. All were suspected leaders of a criminal syndicate accused of overseeing large-scale cannabis plantations and engaging in money laundering. During investigations, police dismantled 3 cannabis nurseries in Naarden and Almere. Evidence uncovered during the probe indicated Zwolsman's involvement in money laundering, including data retrieved from numerous mobile phones seized from him in 2006. This evidence suggested payments exceeding €1 million to his son's racing team in the United States. In January 2010, Zwolsman was ordered by the court in The Hague to pay a total of €14 million to the state. This sum included €10 million that the Ministry of Justice had already recovered from his outstanding debts. Following this, Zwolsman was convicted of possessing 2,000 kilograms of hashish and 4 firearms. He was subsequently arrested and sentenced to 3 years in prison. The prosecution had sought a 7-year sentence, but the court found insufficient evidence linking him to the alleged possession of 59 kilograms of amphetamine. Zwolsman did not serve even half of his sentence, as he was discovered dead on January 21, 2011, in his cell at Nijvegen prison. He passed away at the age of 55 and was laid to rest in Bergedam City a week after his death. Initially, no details were disclosed regarding the cause of his death, but it was later disclosed that he had died from a cardiac arrest. And so ends the tumultuous life of Charles Zwolsman, a man who traded his athletic ambitions for a world of crime and drugs. His story is a classic example of how poor choices can destroy even the most promising careers. Despite his talent and opportunities in the racing world, he chose a path that ultimately led to his downfall. Charles Zwolsman became a tragic symbol of lost potential, and his name will forever be associated with the fall of a man who once soared so high, but ultimately fell so far. What do you think about this story? Please leave your comments down below, and remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Thank you very much.